The college basketball experience preseason predictions, Final Four, conference future, top 25, and national champion picks edition on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Use our sign-up code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit up to $1,000. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today.
Hello, this is Will Wade, head coach of the McNeese Cowboys. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience. Oh, buddy, the season is upon us. Less than 72 hours away. Less than 64 hours because we tip off Monday at noon Eastern. We'll have you covered Sunday night with every single game on the slate with the pick. No leans on this network, I can tell you that. We pick every game all season long. I've been waiting. He's been waiting. We're giving out our conference favorite futures. We're giving out our Final Four picks. We're giving out our national champions. Noah's even got a couple futures on players of the year. I got so many goddamn notes, I can't even read my own handwriting now. But first off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. That sounds good, and this tastes good, and cheers to everybody for rocking with us on a Friday night. It feels like we're in the season already, Noah. Friday night after dark, baby. College basketball experience, live and ready. Second man in the box. You guys know him from the college baseball experience and college basketball experience. He is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, cocktail napkin having Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. What is going on, my friend?
Oh, I'm so ready to get this thing going. Mac, what's up? Preseason predictions episode. First time we've ever done this. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get Colby on, as you can tell from Mac introing the show. But we couldn't wait to debut this new YouTube layout that we're going to be rocking this year. We're changing the theme color to orange for the basketball theme. Gold is football. White is baseball. So I don't know if this is the final version yet. We'll be tinkering a lot throughout the season, I feel like. But I'm proud to say that, I made it. So I think it looks good. I like the orange. We can rock it. The cocktail napkin's all ready to go. All 31 conferences, all 364 teams. We went through all the previews. I got them all power rated. We're ready to kick this thing off opening night. And yeah, Mac and I are going to give out our favorite conference outright futures for the preseason here. I also have a couple of National Player of the Year sprinkles that I'm also going to give out. Then we're each going to give out Elite Eight, Final Four, National Championship picks. Mac's got his preseason top 25. I've got my preseason bracketology projection. Let's have some fun, Mac. What do you say?
Let's have some fun, man. We're giving out a lot of stuff here on a Friday night. And by the way, we just wrapped up, I should say, the coaches tour. I saved Mark Byington for last. So everybody go check out the 44 plus coaches tours. We were there all season long. I know we're starting to get back the snorkeling crowd. So, we've been here all year long. Go check out all 31 conference previews. Go check out all 44 coaches previews. Go check out Colby's Mountain West. They got it all. But let's get into it. You lead the way, my friend, and I will follow your lead.
All right, let's get into this thing. Let's kick it off with our favorite preseason futures. Of course, this is combining our conference outright predictions and a little bit of my national player of the year picks. We're going to save any of the futures for Final Four appearances or national championship later on in the show when we do that section, that portion of the predictions. Mac, I guess since you're allowing me to kick this thing off, I'm going to take you to. I ain't pulling any punches. We're starting off with my favorite preseason outright in a conference, and it's UAB to win the American plus 400 via DraftKings. The Blazers have the fourth most experienced roster in the AAC this preseason. They returned 60% of their minutes from last year, which is the most in the league. 3 starters returned from an NCAA tournament last year. Yaxel Landeborg is back. He is the 5-man who averaged a double-double last season. Looking around the rest of the AAC, Mac, Memphis has the most talented roster, but Penny Hardaway has that program a dumpster fire right now. Florida Atlantic has a new coach and a whole new roster, and unfortunately, the defending champions coach passed away last week, as crazy as that sounds. So UAB at plus 400, I think there's plenty of value with this pick. And yeah, it's Jeff Sharp. I'm rocking some new glasses. I've been bunkered up. I need to get a haircut prior to the opening night tip-off show as well, but these were just over there sitting at the eye doctor. These are blue light glasses for me, but I was just so busy doing all these team previews, couldn't run over and pick them up. So, yeah, rocking them today, getting used to the crystal frames or whatever. But for the health of the eyes, right? So, UAB Blazers plus 400 to win the American. Mac, your thoughts? Do you have? By the way, guys, everybody that's listening to this, we have not conversed at all on how what our picks are. We don't know if we have similar picks or not. Mac, your thoughts on UAB?
I had them winning the league as well. Although I think, and I got the little analytics pulled up over here, the model, they say Memphis is 4 points better than everybody else on a neutral field, but that does not account for coaching. Andy Kennedy, by far, a better coach than Penny Hardaway. You mentioned all that returning production back from that NCAA tournament. I like UAB plus as well, plus 350. That was one of my
400 plus 400. I literally looked at this. I double checked this price the like a couple hours ago. DraftKings plus 400. I literally wrote it down at 5:00. I played it earlier in the week when we did the American preview. UAB plus 400. Love it. And if, by the way, MGM has a boatload of all of these conference outrights, pretty much for every conference. So if you're looking for one that maybe a specific book doesn't have, go over to MGM. Mac, hit us with one of your futures. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but you can go with your favorite as well. Go ahead.
You guys are all going to bust my balls for this one. You know me, I love to bet dogs more than anyone. I'm going to give out not a plus money for my favorite one because we're going to go the America East, and I know they're minus 200. I don't give a damn. It's free. Vermont minus 200. They've won 9 in a row. They should be priced at like minus 400. I'll pay the $2 here. I like rarely will I pay that ever, but for Vermont to win another regular season title under John Beckner, they have the most experience by far coming back. They have the best roster. They're the oldest team in the league. They're going to win the league outright. So a minus 200. I know I'm a bitch to start it off here this season.
Chalk eating weasel.
I know chalk back out of nowhere. But come on, man! Like you can't pass up minus 200 on Vermont. Like sometimes you got to eat that chalk. You only got to pay it when you lose, and I ain't losing with Vermont.
Okay. I will say John Becker's squad is the team to beat for sure. I picked them to win the America East pretty handily as well. Shamir Bogues and TJ Long returning that backcourt after double-digit point per games seasons last year. Brian Hasty in the chat says it should be minus 500. I just wasn't going to consider a minus money play.
They're my only one. They're my only one because I'm like, why are they not priced with like high, or I guess High Point's only minus 200 too, but why are they not priced with like McNeese? McNeese is like minus 500. Vermont should be minus 500.
For clarity, how many plays are you sharing in this portion of the show?
Well, you know me, man. Like I always come in with a plan, and then the plan always turns into something else. So as of right now, I do have a 6-pack. Let's see where the 6-pack turns into, though.
All right, we both have 6, so that's perfectly planned. We did
Yeah.
not enter the show that way, but perfect. My second favorite preseason future is the Bradley Braves at plus 200 to win the Missouri Valley via Bet Rivers. Last season, Bradley finished third in this conference, only behind Indiana State and Drake. But both of those programs' coaches have moved on, and both rosters are basically completely clean slate. Brian Wardle returns as the Braves head coach with the most minutes returning from last season and one of the best home court advantages in the conference. Bradley is the front runner in the Valley this season, and I've got money on them to win it.
I know we differed on this one, but I completely see it. They're the only one that brings back anybody worth a damn in terms of returning production. They bring back the player of the year, and then Wardle's been a staple of consistency. So I do like getting them at plus money. They are really good. The only thing that I was hesitant on, man, with that league, it's always a shit show. So what should happen doesn't always happen.
It's gone chalk 3 years in a row. So
don't sleep on Northern Iowa. Let's not have that debate right now.
Drake had done pretty dang well as the favorite every single season, and I cashed in on him a couple of times.
Well, Indiana State won it last year, right?
Indiana State was like, I don't know if they were expected to really like burst onto the scene like that, but Drake was still 1 game behind first place. Bradley's going to be in the race. That's what I'm saying. The top 2 teams from last year, both coaches are gone. Bradley returns the most minutes. They finished in third. This is a very rational shot at plus 200.
All right. I like it. I'll give out my second pick here, and I will get in a little bit of action here. I am going with the Ohio Bobcats plus 200. They have by far the most returning production. They have the most experience. Jeff Bowles has been knocking on the door to win this regular season outright. You look at what they've done over the last couple of years. 19 wins, 25 wins, 20 wins. They've always been in the semifinals. He has not won the regular season yet. That ends this year. I like Jeff Bowles and the Ohio Bobcats plus 200 in the MAC. And I think we lost Noah. We'll get him back here. He's just popping out. And I got the hoop right here, baby. I'll go over to my next one while we wait for Noah as well. I'm going to give out UC Irvine in the Big West, Russell Turner and company. I'm seeing them at plus 135. I know that's not as juicy as a pick as maybe everybody would like, but they've won the regular season back-to-back years. They bring back a ton of production. We know what Irvine has been in this year, or been in this league year in and year out. So give me Turner and UC Irvine to get this done. Plus 130 out there in the Big West. Keep this going, man. While we wait. Oh, here he is. There's Noah Bieniek.
I don't know what's going on.
You go to the hotspot yet?
It's not my computer. It's what we're using to stream this show on. So
it might be that. It might be Twitch. No, I gave out Ohio and I gave out plus 200 in the MAC, and then I gave out UC Irvine plus 130 in the Big West. I love UC Irvine. They're gonna win that league.
Irvine's a solid pick. Dude, what in the world? Irvine's a solid pick. I have a gigantic pop-up in front of my screen. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's supposed to when we're supposed to be on this, it should block all that shit. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, Ohio, I picked second, only behind Toledo, who's won the. I give that nod to Toledo because they've won the MAC 4 times in a row. I think that program's really good. I think that's the only team that you got to dodge there. And UC Irvine, I totally agree with it. I didn't write it down at plus 130 just because it wasn't
juicy.
Suffice enough for the price for me in the preseason. You know what? Before we get to the rest of the conference, predictions before my computer lags me out of this thing again, or this studio boots me out. Thank you guys for getting us to 12K subscribers, by the way. Before opening night tip, we were begging you guys over the last week here with all the conference previews. We just crossed it today. So we appreciate that. Also, I mean, you could continue for those that aren't subscribed, hit that like button and subscribe. And also on podcast platforms, give us a 5-star rating, especially on Spotify. That helps tremendously spread us around their through their algorithm. And also any other podcast platform. Leave a like, rating, review, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. We greatly appreciate it. And also on Underdog Fantasy, you can help us out. Use promo code TCESGPN, and they're going to take care of you. They've got one of the biggest menus for all of sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, NHL, and college basketball when this thing tips off Monday. You can use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. With your first sign up, you can get a special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right, Mac, we're back here on the College Basketball Experience. Sorry for any delays, but let's jump back into this mess. My third favorite conference outright prediction that I've bet is Howard Bison, plus 200 to win the MEAC, also on Bet Rivers. Howard returns 53% of their minutes from an NCAA tournament team last year and is the most experienced team via Bart Torvik in the MEAC here in the preseason. Bryce Harris returns to reign terror upon this league. Once again, he finished last season 16.5 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, with over an assist, steal, and block per game. By far, best player in this conference, in my opinion. Last year, the Bison finished 7th out of 8 teams in the MEAC via defensive efficiency, yet they win the conference tournament. They were one of the best teams in the regular season. If that improves at all, I think Kenny Blakeney's boys take care of this conference outright easily. But like I said, they return the most minutes from an NCAA tournament team last season. I have the Howard Bison to win the MEAC at plus 200 on Bet Rivers.
I like it, Noah. I think Howard wins the MEAC as well. You mentioned it, talented roster, bringing back a ton of production from that team. They've been good back-to-back years. So, yeah, a little Bison action.
Do I have to catch up to you now? Since you've given out 3 plays?
3? Have you given out 2 or 3?
I've given up 3 now. You've given up 3?
Yep.
All right, go ahead with your 4th.
Let's go to the Fun Belt. So I got a Maxion one, I got a Fun Belt one. I know Arkansas State's the sexy pick, but I talked about it. Scott Cross quietly at Troy has won 20 wins, 3 straight years. They bring back 73% of the returning minutes. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. And this has been a good under-the-radar program. They were 13-5 in league last year. That was with App State and JMU being juggernauts. I don't think they're going to be as good this year, those two. I like Troy to make a step here. And one thing about Scott Cross, man, he had it rolling at Arlington. He won the Sun Belt at Arlington. For whatever reason, they fired him. The stupidest shit I've ever seen. He won 3. Watch out. He won 20 plus 3 straight years there. Hopefully he doesn't get fired at Troy for winning 20 plus every year. But plus 375. I like the Trojans of Troy here.
All right. I think that's interesting. I picked them second in the league this season. I had who did I pick to win the Sun Belt this year?
Now JMU? JMU.
Yeah, I picked James Madison. They're in my bracketology. So, yeah, I Sun Belt's up for grabs at the top. I can see your reasoning there. My 4th pick is a little bit of a combo play, a little bit of a juicy value play. Give me American at plus 425 and Bucknell at plus 850 to win the Patriot League via MGM. I'm jumping on 2 value plays here in this conference because Colgate is vulnerable as they've ever been in the Patriot League this season. The Raiders are very young. It's an inexperienced squad this year, whereas both of these squads, American and Bucknell, return over 70% of their minutes from last year. They're the 2 oldest squads in the league with the most experience coming back to their teams. And both of them have a couple of studs that could easily lead them to a conference title this season. It's just about consistency with a couple of programs that, haven't been been there, done that, like Colgate has. So Colgate could win some that I don't really expect them to, because of Matt Langle as the head coach and because of their winning culture. But I really do believe that American and Bucknell are the two teams that are positioned best to win this thing in the Patriot League this season. I picked them first and second, respectively. And you can get American at plus 425 and Bucknell at plus 850. Mac, I think you picked Lehigh. So we both have established that Colgate is very vulnerable this season, and that's the point here.
The toothpaste, like I said, the toothpaste was showing vulnerability last year. Colgate, they're not Vermont. They're not the blue blood. The blue blood's got a lot of kinks in that armor. Beware, baby. They're gonna have their work cut out for them. It's a unique year in the Patriot League where they're super young and everybody else is super old. And so we'll see if they finally get the throne. I like it. I did have Lehigh plus 750 is like a long shot. I don't know if I want to give that out as one of my favorites, but I do like taking a jab here. You know, man, I like my guy John Griffin at Bucknell. We had him on this summer. I like Bucknell a lot this year with the way they finished down the stretch in year one.
Yes, sir. Let's go. How many picks do you have left?
I think 2.
Okay. I have my 2 National Player of the Years, but I'm only going to give out one right now. The other one makes sense when we do our Final Four predictions and whatnot. So you go one, I'll go one, and then you finish this portion of the show.
Okay, let's go over to our favorite Horizon League, and I talked about this team. I really like the experience of this roster. I love the culture and coach here. Bart Lundy, back-to-back 20-win seasons. They finished second his first year. Took a little bit of a step back, but they bring back a shitload of production, and they are the oldest team in this league. They're one of the oldest teams in the country. Bart Lundy's won wherever he's been, at Queens. Now he's at Milwaukee. I like Milwaukee plus 350 to win the Horizon, baby. I think that's got some nice juice to it. So give me the Panthers in the Horizon.
Yeah, I think it's a good look as well. The Horizon League also seems really open at the top. Oakland last year, who swept this conference, is going to be rough 100% early to start the year. I picked Oakland 5th. Wright State loses their head coach. Clint Sargent gets promoted from within. You interviewed Sargent as well during the preseason, but they also lose their 2-star guards and Tanner Holden, and the other one slipped my mind off the top of my head. Youngstown State also loses their head coach Jared Calhoun to Utah State. So again, it's either Northern Kentucky, who's kind of been a really good program in this thing lately, but I have 2 teams ahead of Northern Kentucky. Your Milwaukee team, and I've also picked Purdue Fort Wayne to win that conference, but I do agree with you that this thing is up for grabs, and I like your shot there. Mac, I gave this thing out on the Big East Conference preview, and I'm going to give it out again. I think Kadari Richmond is a perfect fit, guard and coach. Yeah. This kid stuffs the stat sheet, does a little bit of everything stats-wise, and for National Player of the Year, you're going to have to. One, I think he's got a really good chance at leading his team in rebounds as a guard. You look at Vincent Iwuchukwu, who comes in from USC, didn't really excel on the glass last year, whereas Richmond in the Big East with a lot of great bigs grabbed a ton of boards last year. I think he's going to be really aggressive. Also, he's going to be able to press in Pitino's system. He's going to have a couple of steals per game. And I think he's going to be the leading scorer on this team. Just start checking boxes. And if St. John's has the type of year that I think they can have, that you think they can have, that Colby thinks they have, 150 to 1 is just wrong. You can get it over at Bet Rivers. It was at 151 when I played it on DraftKings 3 weeks ago. It is now 75 to 1. So this thing is coming down. Kadari Richmond, National Player of the Year, is just it's a price that's wrong. And I think that one's around 50 to 1 come mid-December. So that's my call there. And I've sprinkled on the 150 to 1 on him to win National Player of the Year. Unfortunately, there's not a way to really hedge out of that. So I don't really have like too much into that because there's not a really good way of extracting profit in that kind of market. So that would be my only caution about, this is 150 to 1 for a reason. But I think this price easily comes down. Mac, your last conference future.
So kind of like Ohio, I alluded to, like chip on their shoulder. They're older. It's a proud program. They haven't won the regular season in a while. And I think these programs that have a good culture take pride in winning a regular season title, being the best team for that 18 to 20 game slate. Eric Duff enters year number 3 at Weber. They've been knocking on the door back-to-back solid years, 20 wins, 18 wins, 11-7, 12-6 in league play. They bring back the most experience. I think Weber with Riley leaving Eastern Washington. I think Montana State's down. I think the Big Sky is right there to be had. Give me Weber State plus 280 here to win the Big Sky. I think they're the best team on paper, experience, and culture. And I think they return to the top here. And getting them at plus 280, let's go. Did we lose them again? We lost Noah Bieniek again. So, a couple other ones I was looking at while we wait for Noah. I think he's texting me right now. So I want to talk about what his Kadari Richmond, because we're going to talk about St. John's here in a little bit, just with their veteran backcourt. I love Davion Smith. I think what Noah said with Kadari Richmond, I think he can play off the ball as well. He doesn't have to be as ball dominant, so he can be more of a scorer. I love that 1-2 guard combo. Noah, I was just saying I love Weber plus 280, and then I also was piggybacking off of your Kadari Richmond and breaking down that St. John's backcourt.
Yeah, I think Weber's a great pick, and Cody's talking about my internet. My internet's never done this. For what it's worth, our website that we stream these things from, it keeps fucking freezing on me and kicking me out of the lobby. I don't know why. It's never happened at this rate before, ever, honestly. So it's not my connection, which I know it's dog shit, but
too much porn.
I apologize. But yeah, I think Kadari Richmond's the leading scorer and does everything at the most in every stat category that means something in that award. And Weber was my pick to win the Big Sky with you. I think they were disrespected by that media poll. I think they were picked like 3rd or 4th, which is a little wild. So I think that created some great value for us to take advantage of. Before we get to our Final Four National Championship Elite Eight predictions, let me tell you guys about Rhythm, because SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Rhythm went 24-3 in their night 1 NBA props. The college basketball models right around the corner here with tip off on opening night, Monday night. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And the college basketball experience is also brought to you by BetUS. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts when you're looking to cash out. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. And we're home free here today on the college basketball experience. Mac, we're going to now give out our Elite Eight predictions, Final Four, National Championship predictions here on this portion of the episode. Then we're going to wrap this thing up by giving out your preseason top 25 rankings and then just display my preseason bracketology projection. Mac, How do you want to do this? Do you want to create hypothetical matchups in your Elite Eight, or do you want to just list out the 8 teams that you have in the Elite Eight?
I did the regional finals. I tried to map it out. And no, let me lead it off with telling everybody where the sites are this year, because I think that went into where I was visualizing. The Final Four, and this is the best, and coming from a guy that used to go to the Final Four every year in the coaching industry, San Antonio is the best Final Four on the Riverwalk. Great weather, just an absolutely beautiful place. It was there in 2018, there in 2008. Good to see it back in San Antonio. That's where the Final Four National Championship is. The regional sites, the Elite Eight and Sweet 16s, Newark, New Jersey, San Francisco, obviously in California. So that's the West region, Newark being the East. The South region will be in Atlanta, and the Midwest is right there, not too far from you, Noah, in Indy. In the round of 64 and round of 32, the 8 sites are Raleigh, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Seattle, Denver, Wichita, Providence, and Lexington.
All right. So yeah, I didn't create the regional matchups, so I'll do that on the fly. Give me pardon my delays in doing
How
this.
about I kick it off, and then you go off of me in terms of visualizing where you want to put them. I have all the sites in front of me with the bracketology projection. I just got to figure out my matchups within the 8 that allow my 4 teams to get to the Final Four. So you go ahead and announce yours, and I'll come up with that. Okay, beautiful. All right, in the East Regional Final in the Newark region, I hate to say this, I hate them. I have the Duke Blue Devils playing Rick Pitino in the St. John's Red Storm. So we got a Duke versus Pitino Elite Eight. If you remember, that's where the Christian Laettner shot took place. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit, who we think is going to win these games. In the West region, I have a rematch of opening night and a rematch of the Bubble National Championship. I have Gonzaga and Baylor in San Francisco in the West region. In Atlanta, the South region, I got Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars squaring off with Chris Beard and the Ole Miss Rebels, my sleeper in the SEC. And then, Noah's going to love this one. In the Elite Eight, the final regional final in Indianapolis, Indiana. I had to put Kansas in there. Kansas Jayhawks, Hunter Dickinson will play Tom Izzo and Michigan State.
Get out of here.
Oh,
no
yeah,
way.
baby. I got great coaches in my Elite Eight matchups. I got Pitino, I got Few, I got Scott Drew, I got Kelvin Sampson, Chris Beard, Bill Self versus Izzo, and then I guess we got Shire in there too.
All right. So you did not pick the winners of these matchups yet, or at least you haven't announced them. All right. I have my matchups. Thank you for buying me the time. All right. It begins with an absolute banger in the South region in Atlanta. The Battle of Alabama. The Crimson Tide and the Tigers. War Damn Eagle against Roll Tide. Alabama, Auburn. Give me that all day long in the Elite Eight. Then we go up to the Elite Eight. What?
I said, okay, Greg Sankey.
Then we go up to the East in Newark, New Jersey for a heavyweight matchup between the Duke Blue Devils and the Yukon Huskies.
I like that.
Then we go to the Midwest in Indianapolis for the Houston Cougars against my Florida Gators, who were my SEC sleepers. So we're both taking SEC sleepers to get into the Elite Eight. And then out west in San Francisco, Arkansas, the Coach Cal Revenge Tour in March, and Texas Tech.
Ooh, yes. Yeah.
With Grant McCaslin in the bunch. That's my Elite Eight.
I like it. You got some storylines in yours too, and you
got
you got some interesting matchups. I like it. I like your Elite Eights.
All right. Without further ado, Should we unveil these things? You want to go first? You want me to?
I'll lead it off.
All right, go all four.
Rick Pitino's been waiting 30 years. St. John's is going to upset Duke in the East Regional and get to the Final Four. Slick Rick and those St. John's guards, I talked about it. I like Kadari Richmond. I like Davion Smith. I like those guards deep into March. St. John's to the Final Four. Out west, I like the Zags to beat the Bears. And we'll see that matchup here in 72 hours. I think Gonzaga is in for a special year with Mark Few and company. I'm revenge tour here. Kelvin Sampson in Houston. I think they get it done against Chris Beard. I just think they got too much with those athletes. They play for Jamal Shed and get to a Final Four. And then I got Bill Self over Tom Izzo in the Indy region. Kansas defeats Sparty in a Legends Classic. So I got Bill Self, Kelvin Sampson, Mark Few, and Rick Pitino, 4 Hall of Famers in my Final Four.
I love it. I love it. I think you're wild still for the Michigan State Elite Eight pick. But I like the coaching Final Four there. For myself, I have told Mac this previously. This is the one thing that I let him know. There were 2 teams that I basically had cemented into this Final Four, and I was still trying to figure this thing out up until the last minute. It was between like 18 teams for me. But I've got Auburn beating Alabama in that Elite Eight matchup. I've got Duke taking down UConn in that Elite Eight matchup. And then I decided on Houston in my Final Four, like you've used as an argument. I'm right there with you. I think Kelvin Sampson's due. They only lose Jamal Shed from last year, and Milos Ujan comes in as trying his best to be a 1-for-1 replacement. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen like that, but I do like that they've got LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp to be just 2 really good offensive weapons, and the defense is just going to be as good as ever. So I think Houston's good enough to get back there. And I got Texas Tech. So
Ooh, yeah.
I really like the Red Raiders this season. I really think that McCaslin's front court is one of the best in the country with Federico, and Toppin. I think both of those are really good pieces defensively. Toppin can also step out and shoot the 3 ball for you if you need him to. But this group of guards are really good as well. Elijah Hawkins comes in from Minnesota, 7.5 assists last season. He's a really good floor general. Almost really likes to pass it, will pass up his own shot when he's open for the pass. But I really think that he's a really good guy to conduct this offense around Chancellor McMillan and Darion Williams, who both shot it. McMillan 38.5% from 3, Darion Williams 46% from 3 last season. They also get Devin Cambridge back healthy this season. I think this team's really good, flying under the radar. I think it's a breath of fresh air for the Red Raiders when they get out of the Big 12. I think they get to the Final Four.
So you have 2 Big 12s.
So I like this. I like the SEC a lot better than the Big 12 this season. Mm-hmm. I think it's deeper. I think it's better overall conference. But the Big 12 at the top is better than the SEC. And I really did come down to like 4 or 5 different Big 12 teams for the Final Four. I unfortunately had to leave Arizona off here too. I really like the thought process of Arizona getting out of the Big 12. It would be a breath of fresh air for them as well. But yeah, I have 2 teams, not only from the Big 12, 2 teams from the state of Texas where the Final Four is located, Mac.
I like it, man. We got some good storylines here in this Final Four.
Yes, we do.
All right. So I think the East and the West I had on the same side because I did have Duke as the number 1 overall, just because I think the ACC is soft after Duke. And I think that they're going to run through that. So I have Gonzaga and St. John's squaring off. I mentioned it, man. I think the Zags are in for a special year. I think they made it to the national championship in 2017, unfortunately against my Gamecocks. And then again in 2021. I think they get back again in 2025 with that backcourt of Nembhard and Hickman, and then EK as well. I think all that experience back, they played their asses off down the stretch. I got Gonzaga beating St. John's in the regional, or not the regional, in the national semifinal. Then I had Kansas and Houston in the all Big 12 side of the bracket. I've gone back and forth on this. I ended up going Kansas over Houston. I ended up going like Houston, man. I'm going to root for Houston in this game, but Kansas gets it done. They have too much size with Dickinson and Adams, and I think DeJuan Harris, he's won a national championship. Been there, done that last year here, and all these additions that Bill Self added. And this will be the third or fourth time they have seen the Houston defense. So it's not going to throw them off and be like, holy shit, like these guys play hard as hell. I think Kansas, too much talent up top and a week to prepare for the third or fourth meeting. So I got Kansas Gonzaga in my national championship.
Yeah, can you hear me? My screen is frozen. Okay.
You're a little frozen, but we can hear you.
Yeah, that's really, really annoying. But we're powering through it. I think that, like, if you're talking about those two teams matching up specifically against each other, Kansas has got a little bit of a matchup advantage, especially down low. The size on that roster compared to Houston is very noticeable. So Dickinson might eat. That's what I'm saying.
You love Dickinson.
Yes. So my final four: Auburn against Texas Tech, which is a 2019 Final Four. They didn't play against each other, but they were both in the 2019 Final Four. And then I have Duke and Houston, a rematch of what was that, the Sweet 16 game last season between these two teams. So I think that's a fun storyline as well. I have Auburn beating Texas Tech in the national semis. I have Duke beating Houston in the national semis for basically the exact same reasoning that you used for Kansas over Houston. When you look at the Duke team, they're going to be really good defensively. Not only do they have a 7-1 guard, not 7-1, but like Cooper Flagg is just a giant guard who can also guard the 5, but he's going to fly around a couple blocks per game. Honestly, like a point forward in a way, but he's a really good defensive piece. You also have Malawash, who's another really good defensive piece. He's also a freshman. Both of those guys have played really good competition. I mean, Cooper Flagg was up against Team USA guys in the summer. And then the really experienced backcourt in Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, Sion James. And then they have Con Knipple, who's come out of nowhere and just started draining threes like crazy in all these scrimmages. And if he's going to continue to do that, I think Duke has a really nice piece in him as well. I think this team's really deep, one of the most talented teams in the country. I really do think that if John Shire can get them there, Duke has the talent to do it. But I have them losing the national championship to the team that basically, as soon as I settled on them, I thought Auburn was one of the best teams in the country. This roster, I think, is really damn good. And honestly, I think Janai Broome at 20-1 to win the National Player of the Year is an even better play than Auburn to win the national championship at 30-1. If you look at National Player of the Year, only 3 guys are ahead of Janai Broome when it comes to like favorites in this award. It is Mark Sears, it is RJ Davis, and Hunter Dickinson. I really do believe that Janai Broome is going to be the best player on this team. In the front court last year, he only played 25 minutes per game, but he put up 16.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists, shot at 35.5% from the 3, 55% from the floor. I think he's going to be a scoring machine. If he can play for 30 minutes, he might put up 20 per game. JP Pegues comes in to play the 1 from Furman, averaged 5 assists last season per game. I don't think they're asking him to be a scoring guard. I think he's going to come in, know his role, be a distributing guard to all the shooters that surround him. Denver Jones last year, 42%. Jad Baker-Masara, 42% from 3. And Janai Broome can shoot this thing. Miles Kelly, the backup to Janai Broome, is also really solid, averaged 14 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists at Georgia Tech last season. I really do think that Auburn has the pieces to make this thing work. Even Tahad Pettiford, if Pegues doesn't have it, Pettiford's a freshman point guard that might be able to fit in for Pearl. Pearl likes the young guards that he can kind of just mold into feisty pieces. But this team overall is old. 7 seniors in the rotation. I've got Auburn winning the national championship this season. Mac, any thoughts on that before we move on from our Final Four predictions?
I like the angle of taking somebody too that got embarrassed in the first round last year. They're coming in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They won't overlook that first round game after losing to Yale. We've seen it, man. So Auburn can be so Jekyll and Hyde where they may lose one year in the first round, then they're in the Final Four the next year. Then they could get bounced in the round of 32. Then they're back in the Elite Eight. So taking them on a bounce back year with all that talent, Bruce Pearl, he's won all the time. Yeah, I think they're worth a stab. So yeah, I like the Tigers. I think I had them second or third in the SEC with Alabama, your other regional final.
All right. Mac, do you want to jump into your preseason top 25 here?
I didn't give out my national champion.
Oh, you didn't?
I announced who was playing. Kansas and Gonzaga was my national championship in San Antonio.
My fault.
So it's all good. 2 years ago, or even last year, they were like, when they said who's the best coach in college basketball, it was unanimous. It was Bill Self. Now Dan Hurley wins back-to-back championships, and everybody goes, Dan Hurley's the best coach in the game. Not so fast, my friend. Bill Self, every time they have gotten undressed in the second round, the next year they've been absolutely loaded. In 2018, they get absolutely crushed by Auburn. Next year, they go like 30-2, and then the season's canceled. They were going to be number 1 overall. 21, they get absolutely run out of the gym in the round of 32 against USC. Next year, they bounce back. They win the national championship in New Orleans. Last year, who blew them the fuck out? Gonzaga in the round of 32. Revenge here from being absolutely embarrassed. And after the game, they said, what'd you think of this team? And Bill Self, we were already thinking about next year about a month ago. Bill Self's had this thing circled this year. DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, they were part of the national championship team 3 years ago. Dickinson, another year in the system. They don't have to rely on him as much. They bring in Storr, who can score the ball. Griffin can score the ball. Mayo can score the ball. They're old. They can actually make shots from the perimeter to open it up from Dickinson and Harris. Adams. I like the Kansas Jayhawks to cut down the nets and Bill Self to take the throne up top over Hurley in a bounce back year. Give me the Jayhawks over the Zags in San Antonio, where he won his first national championship. Now he wins his third in San Antonio.
I applaud you for fitting a bunch of puzzle pieces together for some storylines. I really do.
Yeah. And they're the best team.
just so you can, take the chalk. But Kansas and Bill Self were pissed off, and they went out and they were like the New York Yankees. They acquired a couple of Juan Sotos, and they're going to give this thing a run.
Ohtani,
hopefully they're not like the world. Hopefully they're not like the World Series Yankees and they lose in the final. But we'll get there when they get there. We could apply the same thought process with the Dodgers. They went out and got Shohei Ohtani. So
yeah,
you go out and you spend money. Most of the time you win. So what'd you say?
Look, see this. I'm telling you, people are sleeping on Bill Self. They're crowning Dan Hurley.
People aren't sleeping on them. They're picked number 1 in the preseason this year.
Don't look at that. They have Notre Dame ranked like 5th in the college football rankings, and they lost to Northern Illinois. Don't look at the AP poll.
All right, let's get into your top 25 preseason rankings.
Hold on, let me turn the page. All righty. If I can read my own handwriting. Let's go. Let's fire away. I will go 25-1. All right, let's get going. I got to take a breath. Sparty cracks in at number 25.
Dude, they're not good. I don't know what you're like. The roster isn't top 25 worthy. Get out of here. You're only doing this to get a reaction out of me.
Yeah. Dude, they got rid of the losing his backcourt. Now they got some guys that want to play. Sparty and Tom Izzo coming in with a chip on their shoulder at number 25. I think everybody is slowly starting to buy into my number 24 team. I think I may have been a little bit ahead of it. Ole Miss, I love what they did in the portal. They look like some of his Texas Tech teams with all these 6'6", 6'7" guys. I like them at 24. 23, I got the Illini. Brad Underwood, he's going to figure it out with this portal class. I know it's a new roster. They lose Shannon, they lose Mayer, they lose all these guys. But I still like the guys that they brought in through the portal, and they'll figure it out offensively. 22, I got the other side of Cincinnati. I got Xavier, the Musketeers. Got some guys coming back from injury. Last year was a down year, but if you really look at it, getting Fremantle and those guys back is going to be a huge addition. I like them back as a top 25 team at number 22. Number 21, I got the Cincinnati Bearcats. They bring back all that production. They went through the Big 12 gauntlet. Now they're a year older. They got size. They got guards. I like what Wes Miller has coming back. So I got them at 21. Indiana at 20. I guess I'll give out a little TMZ here. They paid enough for this 20th ranking. So obviously they get Ballo. They get Miles over from Wazoo as well. We'll see how these pieces mesh. Talent-wise, they probably should be a little bit higher, but I need to see it from Mike Woodson and company. Number 19, I like UCLA. I like what they had got through the portal. They're old. Last year was an outlier, so I got them at number 19. I got one of my final four teams here, the St. John's Red Storm. I think it'll take a minute to get this backcourt meshing, but I like Richmond. I like Smith. I think they're going to be really good. So I got the St. John's Red Storm and Rick Pitino at 18. I got your final four dark horse at 17, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I love McCaslin. I love what he did in the portal as well with Federico at the rim protection. And I just think that the pieces mesh on this roster. At 16, I like Texas A&M. They're flying under the radar, everybody, by the way. They bring back basically everybody from the team that went to the round of 32 last year. So I like A&M a lot with the buzzsaw here. I got them at 16. I don't care if this next team lost Tyler Kolek and Oso. Marquette, 15. Culture, Shaka Smart. They're gonna still find a way with Cam Jones and company to get shit done. They have an identity. Creighton, I like Ashworth coming back, and most importantly, I like Kalkbrenner coming back. They've been a second weekend team consistently. I got them at 14. I got Rick Barnes as well. I know they lost Dalton Knecht, but they're going to be really good with Ziegler again defensively. They have an identity. These teams that have an identity, they find a way to get in that top 15, top 20 year in and year out. Rick Barnes knows what he's doing. Speaking of guys that knows what they're doing, and Noah Bieniek is going to love this one. The Purdue Boilermakers post Zach Edey coming at number 12 here. What's not to like? I mean, other than not having Edey, I mean, Braden Smith comes back. I think that the backcourt's good. It's going to be an older school Purdue team where they're just going to be solid, but they don't have the giant inside in Edey. At number 11, I got the Tar Heels with RJ Davis coming back. They're good. They're not that sexy this year. I think they're actually flying a little bit under the radar with how hype Duke is. I got the Tar Heels coming in at 11. I got Arizona, the Wildcats, Tommy Lloyd. They go from the Pac-12. They come into the Big 12. I do like their overall roster. Townsend coming over from Oakland's a big piece, and I think they will find a way to play fast and win a bunch of ball games in the regular season. We'll see if they can get it done in March. I got your boys, Auburn, your national champion at number 9. I don't really need to go in depth. You've already sold them enough. I like the pieces. 8, I got the Baylor Bears. It's not every day you go out and get two guys in the portal that have played in the Final Four, and Jeremy Roach and Norchad Amir, and pair them with guys that are already good on your roster. Scott Drew turns down Kentucky coming back to Baylor. Glad to keep him in the 12. Baylor at number 8 for me. At number 7, I've already sold this team enough as well. I got the Gonzaga, Bulldogs, all that production coming back. They basically lost 1 or 2 games from about mid-January and on. They won at Kentucky. They finished strong before falling to Purdue in the Sweet 16. They're in my national championship for a reason. Number 6, I got Duke. All that talent. I know everybody talks about Cooper Flagg, but I like the experience in the front court to complement a young buck. So I like what Shire did. I know it wasn't the sexiest portal class, but they didn't need that. We'll see how they are at the point guard position. That's their biggest hole. At number 5, we're going to go UConn. By default, they have earned a top 5 ranking because they won a national championship back-to-back years. Do I really think that they're a top 5 team? Probably not, but I'm going to blindly trust Dan Hurley. Brings back Caravan. We'll see what Aiden Mahaney gets and how he transitions into that new role post all these guys that have been just so good to them over the last couple of years. And number 4, we got the Iowa State Cyclones. My Cyclones, baby, Taven Lipsey back and bringing back the majority of the 4 starters from last year's Sweet 16 team. Otzelberger, they got a hell of a culture there. They're going to guard the shit out of you. They're going to win a bunch of ball games. Can they take that next jump in March is the biggest knock on Iowa State. But from a preseason rankings, they're right there in my top 4 at number 4. The Alabama Crimson Tide, Mark Spears comes back. They had the big fella from Rutgers as a rim protector, Cliff. They're going to be good once again, man. They found their identity down the stretch when they made that Final Four run. I like Nate Oates' group to be number 3. Number 2, I got the Houston Cougars. They bring back 8 out of 9. They're going to play for Jamal Shed. Disappointed how that year ended. The Cougs are my number 2 team. And then number 1, my national champion, Bill Self, Kansas. They're loaded. They got good guards. They can score in the perimeter this year. They're going to be better defensively, and they can score inside, and they have Bill Self. So that's my inaugural Moneyline MAC top 25 for the 24-25 season, everybody. Cheers. Glad it's here.
All righty. And I'm going to withhold all of my input because we're going to just jump right into my bracketology projection here. That's basically my version of what Mac does is his top 25 rankings. I'm just doing it for all 31 conferences, representation for everybody, and a field of 68. We're going to do this kind of like a bracket reveal show on CBS because, one, I don't know how long my the streaming service will keep me into the stream studio before it kicks me out, and 2, my connection could also just go to dog shit. So number 1 overall seed, Duke. I really think that Duke probably has a good leg up on the rest of the ACC this season. And because of that, they're only going to take about 3 or 4 conference losses. They'll be up there at the top of the standings. I really do think that they'll be the number 1 overall seed this year. The 16 play-in against them would be the winner of American and Texas Southern. Then we got 8-9 seed, really interesting matchup there. BYU and Kentucky. Mark Pope, the former head coach of BYU, now in Lexington with Big Blue Nation. And the Cougars under Kevin Young. I think they're really interesting this year. We then jump to the 5 seed, we jumped to Cleveland. So that region, that first weekend, set of games is in Raleigh, North Carolina, close to Duke there. This next set is in Cleveland, where the 4 seed, the 15th overall team in my bracketology projection, Tennessee, will take on McNeese State in round 1. The other matchup on the other side here in Cleveland is Xavier Dayton, a really local matchup near and dear to Ohio basketball fans' hearts. Right there in Cleveland, that place is going to be packed for that matchup. Again, the winner of that pod gets the winner of the Duke pod in the Sweet 16. We then move on to the 3 seed in the East region. By the way, this region will be, this pod is played in Denver. Baylor is a 3 seed. I have them 10th overall. They'll play James Madison in round 1. Boise State is a 6 seed. I have them winning the regular season in the Mountain West. And they get a play-in game as the 11th seed, the winner of St. Louis and Georgia as 2 of my last 4 teams into the field this season. And then the other pod here is taking place in Lexington, Kentucky, where the 2 seed Alabama, who I have projected them to finish 8th this season. I have Alabama as the 2 seed playing 15, VCU the 7, Cincinnati as the 10. They're in Lexington. We then move on down to the number 4 overall seed. This is in the West region. San Francisco, California is where this regional final will be played. Milwaukee will host the pod for 1 seed Iowa State. I think it goes pretty similar to last year. I think Iowa State has a great shot to win the Big 12 tournament this year. I have them finishing 2nd in the regular season in the Big 12. So I got Iowa State as my 2nd ranked, second highest ranked Big 12 team. I've got 2 Big 12 teams as 1 seeds this year. The Cyclones, 4th overall. They'll draw Quinnipiac, the 16 seed out of the MAAC. Also, San Diego State, the 8 seed. Michigan, the 9 seed. Brian Dutcher, former assistant head coach for Steve Fisher at Michigan. Michigan, first year of Dusty May, incoming from Florida Atlantic. Nice matchup there. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The pod that'll face them in the Sweet 16 will take place in Seattle. The 4 seed is Arizona. I put them 13th overall in the country. The 13 seed out of the Big West is UC Irvine. The 5 seed, North Carolina, gets sent out west. Grand Canyon is a 12 seed that they'll have to play in round 1. The bottom half of this portion of this side of the bracket, the left side, a pod taking place in Seattle with 3 seed Gonzaga, 9th overall in the country, in my opinion, at the end of the season. This is me projecting it all. Gonzaga, a 3 seed. Chattanooga out of the SoCon is the 14 seed. Oregon, 6 seed. Nevada, 11 seed. Then the pod they'll face in the Sweet 16, will take place in Denver, Colorado, where 2 seed Texas A&M. I have them 7th overall. When the season comes to a close, they'll play 15 seed Weber State out of the Big Sky. UCLA out of the Big Ten plays St. Mary's in round 1 there. We're going to jump back to the top portion of the bracket, to the right side of the bracket now, where in the Midwest region, the 1 seed, I don't know why they're not typed in there, is the Kansas Jayhawks. This pod will be played in Wichita, Kansas. I have the Jayhawks as the 2nd overall team in the preseason here. They'll play UMKC in round 1. Then it's a UAB Arkansas matchup in round 2. Then in Raleigh, North Carolina, this pod, the highest seed here is the 4 seed Florida. I have them 14th overall in the country. They'll play Louisiana Tech, a 13 seed in round 1. 5 seed Miami. So if chalk holds, which I don't think it's going to in this pod's super fun. But if chalk holds, Florida, Miami in Raleigh, nice matchup. But Miami will have to get past High Point out of the Big South, a very high-powered mid-major there. Also, just a couple pods below, the 3 seed Purdue, I have them ranked 12th overall in the country. They will play in Cleveland, Ohio, along with the 14 seed Toledo right there in their backyard. Also, the 6 seed Marquette out of the Big East, and 11 seed just sneaking into the field as an at-large team, Louisville. Also in Providence, Rhode Island, another pod here, the 2 seed UConn, who I have picked to finish 5th at the end of the season. They'll play 15 seed Purdue Fort Wayne out of the Horizon League, 7 seed Ole Miss, and 10 seed Princeton out of the Ivy League. I have them not as a I have them basically as an at-large if they don't win their conference tournament, which for this bracketology projection, I do not have another Ivy League team in it, so I have Princeton winning the Ivy League tournament. Then we jump down to the South region in Atlanta, Georgia. This first pod takes place in Lexington, Kentucky, where the 3rd overall seed, 1 seed Auburn, will play the winner of a play-in game between Howard and Central Connecticut State. Howard out of the MEAC, Central Connecticut State out of the NEC. Then the 8-9 game is, a familiar matchup between Fred Hoiberg's Kansas State Wildcats and Nebraska Cornhuskers. Really interesting there. Last year, I believe they played each other, and there was some hostility between the two programs. Then a pod below in Providence, taking place in Providence, the 4 seed St. John's, who I've put 16th at the end of the season here. They'll play 13 seed Vermont out of the America East. Texas Tech is a 5 seed here. They'll play Bradley out of the Missouri Valley in round 1 in Providence. Final 2 pods here. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the 3 seed Creighton is 11th overall in the country via my projection for the end of the season. They'll play 14 seed Charleston out of the CAA. Clemson is in this pod as a 6 seed once again, just like they were last year during their Elite Eight run. They'll play the winner of a play-in game between Iowa and New Mexico. And then for the final 4 teams of this field of 68 projection, takes place in Wichita, Kansas, where the 2 seed overall in this region. Houston, I have them 6th overall in the country. Houston will play the 15 seed Little Rock, the 7 seed Illinois, 10th seed Texas. So Texas, Houston possibility there could be really fun. But that's the bracketology projection. Mac, that is the conclusion of our show with a brand new rebranded YouTube layout that I'm currently still getting used to for those that are watching on YouTube. This has been a great show. Our first time ever doing these preseason predictions. Anything else that you want to add before we get out of here?
I want to touch on for the futures, like conference futures, the conversation we were having backstage before. So Noah and I have started, we were looking at some of the scheduling favorability on some of these bigger conferences for when you're diving into the conference futures, check to see who you get once and if you get them at home or on the road. What we're seeing, and all you got to do is look at college football right now with just how a favorable schedule in these unbalanced leagues can completely give you a leg up. For example, the team that really popped the eye was Texas A&M in the SEC. They get Alabama, Auburn, and I think Tennessee all once, and they get them all in College Station. That was like, all right, that put my antennas up. That's a team 18-1. Maybe you put in the back of your mind to win the SEC because they have a great schedule. Baylor in the Big 12, they don't have to go to the Fog. So, if you think that Baylor, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas are all kind of really fucking good, well, they don't have to go to the Fog, and the other teams have to go to the Fog. So it's just little things like that with these bigger leagues. I think just do your own research on who you think is going to be really good, and man, the season's here.
Yeah, my response to Mac when he brought that up, a lot of the scheduling imbalances because of all these large leagues. Big Ten's got 18 teams. The Big 12's got 16. The SEC's got 16. And then the ACC's got 18. All those conferences have imbalanced schedules. There are going to be teams that have favorable schedules that when you notice it, don't be afraid to take the shot, because even though they might not be the best team in the conference, they've got the best schedule, and they're poised enough, talent wise, to take advantage of the schedule and win the league outright. It's a little. I don't love the big conferences because you can't do the round robin scheduling anymore. When I did my preseason conference futures, most, if not all of them, were round robin schedules. I think the only one that I didn't pick was UAB, but I think my reasoning was good enough, and that was my actually favorite conference future there. When I typically kind of analyze the schedules, I mean, you can attempt to do it right now in the preseason, but do we really have a great feel on an entire 18-team conference? No, not necessarily. When I've done it in the past, is usually you get a lot of time during Christmas, and sometimes even 1 or 2 conference games have already been played. But anyways, during Christmas, that week, it's really light in action, and you can really deep dive into a lot of conference schedules and establish what angles you want to take with some of these imbalanced schedules. So that would be my advice there, because conference play will start pretty much the first week of January.
I agree.
If you're looking to follow,
and one last thing too,
go ahead.
All the futures basically we gave out were the round robin leagues, because the data is not going to change, and you don't have to worry about the schedule dynamic. You're playing home and home against A, B, C, D, and it's going to be a balanced schedule. I did want to throw one last jab. In the Big Ten, a certain team has a really good schedule. They don't go to Purdue. They don't go to Indiana. They don't go to Wisconsin. That is a Michigan State Spartans plus 750.
Yeah, but you're counting as they don't go to Wisconsin as like some great dodge, because
it's a tough home court. It's a tough home court.
I picked Wisconsin 12th. This league is going to be a total shit show. I think there's really only 2 good teams, and the rest I have no idea what's going to happen in the Big Ten. So
I had to crowbar Izzo, always the last team on all my ends, just to fuck with you.
Yeah, and if you wanted to fuck with me, just say like the teams that Michigan drew twice in the Big Ten: Michigan State, Purdue, and I think shit. Why did I drop it? Either way, Michigan State. What'd you say?
UCLA?
No, I can't remember it now. But those Michigan State and Purdue were two of the three teams that we played twice. Anyways, if you're looking to follow my co-host here, Ryan McIntyre, on Twitter for a lot more of his opinions on college basketball, you can do so at Moneyline_Mac. My advice was just don't go to his profile on November 5th. You can follow me on social media.
I'll give you my opinion, whether you like it or not.
it took him a day to or a second or two to register what I was meaning there. You can follow me on Twitter at Noah Bieniek or at NoahB77 _. My name is Noah Bieniek. This has been the College Basketball Experience. If you're looking to follow the show, at TCE on SGPN for social media. This was great. Our first ever preseason predictions episode. Sunday night, be there or be square. Opening night tip-off. We're handicapping all of those games. We pick every single game against the spread and on the money line every single night for every single game in the Division I of college basketball all year long. That's why we previewed 364 teams, 31 conferences. This has been the College Basketball Experience. We'll see you every single night of the college basketball season. And we out of here.